Hello everyone. Today we are going to read chapter 6, the architecture, forts and sacred places. New words to remember. Garbhagriha, sanctum where the main deity is kept. Shikhar, the pointed high superstructure built on the top of Garbhagriha. Gopuram, the gateway of the temple in South India. Bauli, the step wells in Rajasthan and Gujarat used for water harvesting. Calligraphy, decorative handwriting. Dome, large semicircular roof. Minars, slender and tall towers tapering to the top. Canopy, covering over a bed or a person or throne. The story of Indian art and architecture covers a long period of more than 5,000 years. Our archaeological heritage includes temples, mosques, gurdwaras, forts, palaces, tombs, and hydraulic structures like canals, tanks, wells, etc. We can classify the architectural heritage into two categories: sacred monuments, which are associated with religion, for example, temples, mosques, gurdwara, and synagogues. Secular monuments such as forts, palaces, havelis, gateways, towers, etc. Funerary monuments include tombs, dargahs, chhatris, etc. The rulers of ancient and medieval India built grand monuments. Importance of monuments as sources of information of history. The monuments are the most authentic source of reconstructing history because they cannot be tampered with. The monuments tell us much about the engineering skills and building techniques of a particular period. They show different styles of architecture. For example, the North Indian temples display Nagara style and the South Indian temples display the Dravida style. The Islamic architecture has some special features such as domes, minars, minarets, etc. The palaces and havelis highlight the splendor and lavish lifestyle of the royal families and nobility. The forts with their high walls and gateways reveal the strategy of defense against the enemies. Many temples, particularly those built by the Chola rulers, had inscriptions which furnish details about military conquest of these rulers. The temples during the Middle Ages had vast treasure of gold and jewels. Mahmud of Ghazni defeated many Hindu kings and destroyed temples. His motive was not only to loot wealth but also to show that he was a great hero of Islam, Al Ghazi or God's warrior. Architecture between AD 800 and AD 1200, the Rajput period. During the Rajput period, architecture and sculpture reached a high level of excellence. The Kailash temple at Ellora, built in the second half of the 8th century by a Rashtrakuta king, marked the beginning of temple architecture. This shrine was made out of a single rock. The temples that followed later were structural temples built with brick and mortar. The Kailash temple consists of four parts: the main shrine, the richly carved gateway called Gopuram, a Nandi shrine between two huge towers, and an assembly hall. The hill at Ellora contains a number of rock-cut caves. The Elephanta caves near Mumbai contain remarkable images of deities. The main temple styles discussed here are those of Odisha, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Bundelkhand. Temples of Odisha. The Nagara style was developed in Odisha between 10th and 13th centuries. Out of many temples, the following three are most noteworthy. Lingaraja Temple, Bhubaneswar. The Lingaraja Temple was built by rulers of the Ganga dynasty in AD 1100. The interior of the temple is plain but outer walls are richly carved. It has conical shaped spire. Mukteshwar Temple, Bhubaneswar. The Mukteshwar temple was built in the 10th century by the rulers of the Ganga dynasty. It has an arched gateway decorated with beautiful sculptures depicting the life of Lord Krishna. Sun Temple, Konark. The Sun Temple was built by King Narsimha Dev I, 1238 to 1264 of the Eastern Ganga dynasty. It is dedicated to sun god or Surya. The whole structure is fashioned like a ratha drawn by 7 horses. The big wheels fixed on either side are beautifully carved. This temple is also known as the Black Pagoda. Temples of Gujarat and Rajasthan. Temples in Gujarat and Rajasthan are mostly Jain temples. The Gujarat temples were constructed by the Solanki kings in the 11th and 12th centuries. The Dilwara Jain temples of Mount Abu in Rajasthan were built during 11th to 13th centuries. They are made of white marble. These temples have delicate carvings in the interior while the exterior is simple and plain. The Dilwara temples have no towers, shikhars. Temples of Bundelkhand. The temples of Bundelkhand were built by the Chandela rulers in the 10th and 11th centuries at Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh. Among them, the most famous is the Kandaria Mahadev Temple, 1050, with 84 decorated small towers surrounding the main tower. Every inch of the wall is covered by superb sculptures. The shikhar is fashioned in such a way that it appears like Mount Kailasa, the home of Lord Shiva. The early part of the medieval period from AD 750 to AD 1200 witnessed the consolidation of the intellectual tradition and great artistic activity. It also witnessed much demolition in the later period by the Muslim invaders. Palaces. Rajput rulers also built many forts and palaces. The Jaipur Palace, where the ruler resided, is a huge and magnificent structure. The Umaid Bhawan Palace at Udaipur, built of sandstone, is impressively elegant. Some of the palaces of the past have been converted into heritage hotels. Many Rajput palaces had chitrasalas or art galleries. Monumental architecture under the Sultanate of Delhi, AD 1206 to AD 1526. The Turks brought with them their own style of architecture, but they had to employ Hindu architects and craftsmen who introduced certain Hindu designs in the buildings. This resulted in the growth of a new Indo-Islamic style of architecture. The Muslim mosques and tombs had domes, beautiful minars, and minarets. They had arched roofs or ceilings called vaults. In keeping with the Islamic traditions, the Turks did not have animals or human forms on the walls of monuments. Their structures were decorated with geometrical patterns and calligraphy, that is, passages from the Holy Quran. Some of the monuments had Hindu designs such as lotus and the swastik bell. For the construction of these buildings, marble, red sandstone, and lime mortar were used. The Delhi Sultanate built many fine buildings. Quwat al-Islam Mosque, built by Qutbuddin Aibak in Delhi, is one of the earliest monuments of the Delhi Sultanate. Later, Qutub Minar, Alai Darwaza, the tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Kotla, and tombs of Lodi kings at Delhi were built. Qutub Minar. The most magnificent of these monuments is the Qutub Minar. It rises to a height of 72.5 meters. It has 5 stories. Each story has a different pattern and goes on tapering as the stories ascend. Each story has a balcony. Its construction was started by Qutbuddin Aibak and completed by Iltutmish. This minar displays great engineering skills. Quwat ul-Islam Mosque. Quwat ul-Islam mean might of Islam. This mosque was built by Qutbuddin Aibak at Delhi. It was dedicated to the Sufi saint Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki. Alai Darwaza. The Alai Darwaza is one of the 4 gateways to the Quwat ul-Islam Mosque. It was built by Alauddin Khilji. It preserves the earliest use of arc at the entrance of a building. The walls of the gateway as well as the mosque are richly decorated with motifs taken from the Hindu art of Gujarat. Tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. The architecture of the Tughlaqs was simple but more massive. The tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq has sloping walls. Built on a raised platform, it has a marble dome. Tughlaq structures are also found at Firoz Shah Kotla. They use grey stone in their structures. As such, there is a little ornamentation. The Lodi buildings. The monuments of the Lodis are impressively elegant. Their structures were often constructed in the middle of the garden. The Lodi Garden in Delhi is a fine example of Lodi art and architecture. The Mughal architecture AD 1526 to AD 1707. It was in the field of architecture that the Mughals made their greatest contribution to the Indian culture. Their monuments are great masterpieces of all times. Babur and Humayun had great liking for Persian style of architecture. During Akbar's reign, the Indian style got embedded in it, and during the rule of his successors, it was entirely Indian. Some of the features of the Mughal architecture are as follows. For the construction of these monuments, white marble and red sandstone were mainly used. The monuments were decorated with natural scenery, birds, trees, etc., precious stones of different colors, and mosaic work. The mosque had beautiful minars at the corners. Their structures had huge gateways. Gardens were developed around the tombs. Only 2 monuments built by Babur have survived. One is a mosque at Panipat and the other mosque is at Sambhal in Rohilkhand. Humayun did not get much time for planning and constructing monuments. The first important monument of Akbar's reign is the tomb of Humayun at Delhi, built by Humayun's wife. The unique feature of the monument is its massive dome having on it the influence of Persian art. The tomb was placed in the midst of a large garden. Its central hall is surrounded by 8 rooms. The structure was constructed with red sandstone, although marble was also freely used in the construction of the building. Akbar. Akbar built a number of monuments. He built the Agra fort on the banks of river Yamuna. His most ambitious project was his new capital at Fatehpur Sikri, situated 43 km west of Agra. The prominent buildings of the city were Diwan-e-Aam, where Emperor held his general darbar, Diwan-e-Khas or the hall of private audience, Jodhabai's palace, Rang Mahal, the house of Birbal, the Jama Masjid, and the tomb of Sheikh Salim Chishti. Buland Darwaza was erected at Fatehpur Sikri to commemorate the conquest of Gujarat. It is a gateway 40-meter high and 35-meter wide. It carries beautiful inscriptions. A verse from the teachings of Jesus Christ was also included in the inscriptions. That shows the religious tolerance of the great emperor. Jahangir. Jahangir completed Akbar's tomb at Sikandra. During his reign, Noor Jahan built the tomb of her father Itmadullah. It was built of white marble. Case study: Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan is often called the engineer king because Mughal architecture reached its climax during his reign. The main sources of information about the great monuments built by Shah Jahan are the Badshah Nama written by Abdul Hamid Lahori, a court historian, and the travel account of Tavernier, who visited India between AD 1638 and AD 1668. Shah Jahan's reign is considered as the golden age of Mughal architecture. His monuments lacked originality and grandeur when compared to Akbar's monuments, but in terms of beauty of form, harmony of proportion, and elaborate decorations, they are matchless. Some of the buildings are the Red Fort of Delhi and its Diwan-e-Aam and Diwan-e-Khas, the Jama Masjid in Delhi, and the Moti Masjid at Agra. But the most famous of them all is the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal at Agra has been described as a dream in marble. It is purely Persian in style but Indian in spirit. This monument is considered one of the seven wonders of the world. It was built on the banks of river Yamuna by Shah Jahan in memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal. It was designed and completed by Ustad Isa. It took 22 years to complete and cost rupees 3 crores. More than 20,000 workers were employed for its construction. It is made entirely of marble brought from Makrana in Rajasthan. It stands on a huge platform and has a bulbous dome which looks like an inverted lotus. There are four smaller domes at the four corners of the building. The outer walls and the interior walls are richly decorated with calligraphy. The precious stones and various other materials that were used for decorating the monument came from different countries. It attracts large number of tourists from all parts of the country as well as outside India. Red Fort. The construction of Diwan-e-Aam or the Hall of Public Audience in the Red Fort was commenced by Shah Jahan but completed by Aurangzeb. It is mainly made of marble. It was here that the emperor listened to the public petitions and met the officials. Diwan-e-Khas or the hall for private audience inside the Red Fort was a remarkable building. It was here that the famous peacock throne made of solid gold was placed. The figure of a peacock set with precious stones topped the canopy of the throne. Behind the imperial throne there was pietra dura, which means pictorial mosaic work using semi-precious stones. The picture was that of the Greek god Orpheus playing the flute. This god could charm wild beasts with the beauty of his singing. The idea was that the king's justice could bring peace and harmony in the country. An inscription on the wall of Diwane Khas said, "If there is heaven on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here." This made one to believe that peace and prosperity prevailed through the empire. Jama Masjid. Shah Jahan also built the Jama Masjid in Delhi. It is one of the most elegant monuments of its kind. The regional architecture. The rulers of the various regional dynasties were also builders of palaces, mosques, and tombs. Bengal. In Bengal, the famous Adina Mosque was built in the second half of the 14th century. Another well known structure is the tomb of Jalaluddin Muhammad Shah. It is one of the finest tombs in Bengal. Gujarat. The city of Ahmedabad was founded by Ahmad Shah. One of the finest examples of the Gujarati style is the Jama Masjid at Ahmedabad, built by Ahmad Shah. It has 15 domes which are supported by more than 200 pillars. Malwa. Malwa rulers built many splendid monuments of Mandu such as Jami Masjid, Hindola Mahal and Jahaz Mahal. Kashmir. In Kashmir, the local chiefs adopted the old tradition of constructing buildings with wood and stone. The Jami Masjid at Srinagar is very impressive piece of architecture in wood. Vijayanagar Empire. The Vijayanagar Empire in Deccan had high achievements to its credit. The best examples of the temples built by the Vijayanagar rulers can be seen in the town of Hampi in Karnataka. The Vitthal Dev temple at Hampi was constructed by Krishna Dev Rai in the 16th century. Bahmani Kingdom. Bahmani Sultans of Deccan were great patrons of art and architecture. The Gol Gumbad at Bijapur in Karnataka is known for its massive dome and whispering gallery. Even a whisper in one corner can produce a loud echo in the hall. It was built by Muhammad Adil Shah II AD 1637 to AD 1656 as his own mausoleum. This was our chapter, The Art and Architecture, Forts and Palaces. Forts and Sacred Places. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask me in the comment box below. Thank you everyone.